The bloodiest match in history. That title alone sounds like a total contradiction, right? Well, today we're diving into the shocking true story of a soccer game that was supposed to build bridges, but ended up in absolute carnage.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? How could a simple, friendly game of soccer, an event organized specifically for peace, spiral into one of the most violent prison riots ever recorded? Let's get into it.
All right, so let's set the scene. The date is December 31st, 2019. The place, the Cienfuegos State Prison in Zacatecas, Mexico. And believe me, this place has a reputation. While the rest of the world was getting ready to celebrate a new year, the authorities inside this prison were planning an event they hoped would mark a new beginning for the inmates.
Now, on the surface, the idea was actually a pretty good one. Prison officials put together a friendly soccer match. The goal was simple. Let's ease some of the tension, give the guys some entertainment on New Year's Eve, and hey, maybe, just maybe, get some old rivals to bury the hatchet.
And what added to this false sense of security was that families had actually been allowed to visit the inmates earlier that day. So there was this kind of fake sense of calm, of normalcy, that just makes what happened next even more unbelievable. But as we're about to see, peace in a place like this is a very, very fragile thing.
But here's the thing. That fragile peace was masking a massive, fatal flaw in the plan. The authorities had completely overlooked a critical and, as it turns out, deadly detail about who was actually playing in this friendly game.
See, this wasn't just Team A versus Team B. On one side of the pitch, you had members of the Gulf Cartel, and on the other, members of Los Zetas. Now, to really get the gravity here, you have to understand, Los Zetas used to be the personal, hyper-violent enforcers for the Gulf Cartel before they split and became one of the most bitter, blood-soaked rivalries in the world. For these guys, this was never, ever just a game.
The war between these two cartels doesn't just stop when they get arrested. Oh no. All the hatred, all the violence from the streets, it gets carried right inside the prison walls with them. So that soccer pitch? For them, it was just another battlefield.
For the first few minutes, it might have looked like any other intense game. Passes were flying, tackles were hard, but that entire prison yard was basically a powder keg just waiting for a single spark. And there it is, the spark. A hard, dirty tackle right in the penalty box. It's the kind of thing you see in competitive games all the time. But here, in this place, with these players, it was like throwing a lit match into a puddle of gasoline.
And just like that, a simple dispute over the foul completely exploded. The shouting started, but this wasn't about sportsmanship. This was fueled by years of pure hatred. That thin, fragile idea of a friendly match was shattered in an instant.
And this is the exact moment everything tipped over. This argument wasn't going to be settled with a yellow card. Not even close. The soccer match was officially over. A riot had just begun.
Suddenly, a sound way more terrifying than a referee's whistle ripped across the prison yard. Gunfire. The game had completely dissolved into a full-scale battle right there on the field.
So, you have to be asking, how on earth do actual guns get inside a maximum security prison? Well, later investigations suggested that the weapons were probably smuggled in during those family visits earlier in the day, just hidden away and waiting for the right moment. The scene was just absolute chaos. I mean, imagine it. One minute these guys are chasing a soccer ball, and the next, they are literally running for their lives. Other inmates were grabbing guns and opening fire on their lifelong enemies. The pitch had become a war zone.
So after all that chaos, what did the aftermath actually look like? Let's take a look at the final bloody score. Not on a scoreboard, but in the official coroner's reports.
And this wasn't some quick little brawl that got broken up. No, the violence raged for 2.5 hours. It took a massive response, including the Mexican National Guard, to finally get control of the prison again.
When the dust finally settled, the human cost was just staggering. 16 people were killed.
So here's the full, grim tally from that day. On top of the 16 people who died, 5 others were injured. And when authorities finally swept the facility, they found the firearms used in the riot, plus a ton of knives.
So, what do we take away from a story this horrifying? Well, it serves as a really grim, but really important reminder of a much deeper truth.
And this is the ultimate tragedy of it all. The one event that was specifically designed to create peace and lower the tension became the very stage for an explosion of violence. The game itself became a casualty of a war that just refused to be forgotten.
It's a powerful lesson, right? It shows that good intentions sometimes just aren't enough to fix a conflict that runs this deep. Even something as universal and beautiful as sports can be completely poisoned and twisted by hatred.
And that really leaves us with this one last, unsettling question to think about. When you're faced with that much violence and that much history, can one simple game, or any single peaceful gesture, ever truly be enough to erase a war?